Hi, welcome back to the Canton Clay Works. I'm Tim Scull, the owner, known as Tim the Potter. I want to continue into what I'm going to call now advanced beginner demos. And today what I want to show you is the pillow form or globe form, closed form. And I want to refer to the hand positions that I've shown you in the previous videos. So we're just going to get right to it. Ball of clay in the right hand supported by the left. I'm throwing counterclockwise. I'm throwing on a bat, so I've added a plastic bat to the wheel head. Slam it down, smear the exterior shoulder, just the lower shoulder, not the whole side wall, because if you smear the whole side wall, you interfere with being able to comfortably get this on center. Coning up. Double-headed bird, as you've seen in the previous videos, thumbs up. As it elongates upward, I square down on the top. Then I cone down. When I cone down, I use the bulbous muscle of the left thumb on top of the cone, but on the 7 o'clock side of center. So this is my action coning down. As I cone down, my right hand comes in at 5 o'clock, compressing the clay firmly in, which puts the clay right to center. Notice the duration in which I'm holding my mold up against the clay. It's imperative that you allow the clay to revolve through your hands many revolutions in order to conform. So this is my coning down position. Now we're going to go to what I call cosmetic centering. Looking good. Now we're going to open. All these hand positions are in the previous video specifically. Now I'm not going to open more than maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Compress my rim. I'm going to compress the bottom. Notice the rate at which I'm throwing. Very successful throwing, particularly if you're going to stretch the clay wall, which we are on this piece, into an exaggerated form. Throwing fairly expeditiously, quickly, really does help because you're adding less moisture to the piece. Versus if you're coning up and down several times just to learn the hand positions, you really soften the clay, you vibrate the clay, expanding the clay platelets, which is called fixotropity, and you're adding moisture, which softens the wall. But if I throw quickly like this, you'll see that the clay is much firmer, which is going to allow me to create an exaggerated form with less fear or probability of the piece collapsing. Now in a closed form, that means I'm taking the rim and I'm bringing it in, but I'm bringing the wall out. So notice right away, notice the thickness of the rim. Always leave on a closed form a thicker rim. That's about twice as thick as the wall. Now what we're going to do is compress the exterior wall. This is always a good technique. It's going to tighten the clay platelets. I put a rib on the exterior wall at 3 o'clock at a 45-degree angle. I push the clay out against that rib from the inside, compressing the clay platelets against the straight up and down rib, and the rib trims off the moisture clay and strips off any unnecessary moisture. So here we go. We're going to take this form and round it. I support my rim like this with my left hand. I like to take the middle finger and the thumb and grab the rim, just like that. Then this index finger, is sticking out, and it affixes itself to the right hand. I start to rib outward, pushing outward at the base with my index finger and middle finger of the right hand with a sponge that's highly lubricated at the tip of those fingers. And right at 6 o'clock, I start to push that clay out. I increase my wheel speed and I pull my hand up gradually. Notice the bulge of it moving outward. I bring it up nice and slow. And it starts to round the form. Be very careful of not overstretching the clay at first. You need to get used to this tapered movement of the hand upward on the inside to stretch the piece. Now this spot right down here, the lower shoulder, is ribbed out about as far as it can go, but I can from there out to here, which right now is negative space, can fill it with the curvature of the wall shaped even further, creating positive space. A lot of times I might choose at this point to use a kidney rib. This is a wooden kidney rib, which I really, it's covered with clay. It's a little camouflage, so let's clean it up so you can see that. This is a wooden kidney rib. I like to shape the interiors with that, so I'm going to hold the wooden kidney rib, and then I'm going to rib from the inside wall, that spot that I told you had been stretched far enough, and I start bringing the kidney rib up and out. Now notice the expansion of the wall. Notice the really cool shape. This is called a pillow shape, meaning a squat sphere. So we're going to take the water out of the inside. There's a lot of water there. Never want water to build up in the inside for too long. Terrific. Now this is our shape. It's looking pretty good. Notice it is not doing the gelatinous jellyfish thing when I shake the rim. It's got some structural integrity into it. Now this thick rim that you see, we want to close inward. This plane right here is a little too flat for my comfort. So what I'm going to do is change it, moving it upward and inward. The way I do that is I take the middle finger and the index finger of the left hand, highly lubricated, on the inside shoulder. This hand is stationary. It doesn't move. I stick the left thumb out, connect the right hand to it, and the right index finger starts to move and close this clay in against the stationary inside hand and move the clay up on a diagonal. Notice the angle. I've increased the angle dramatically. And I bring this clay up and in. Now the stationary interior hand, the left fingers, are supporting this shoulder, which is weak, and preventing it from collapsing. This is the stage at which I regularly use the heat gun to firm up that shoulder that's very weak. You notice how the diameter is getting narrower. This takes several pulls, particularly if the wall has a weak spot, and this wall absolutely has a weak spot. Right here, the clay is very, very thin. But because my inside hand is supporting it, it's not collapsing on me. I'm bringing the clay in. I'm going to bring my rim up just ever so slightly. I'm going to take my needle tool, just cut that little bit of the rim that's off center. Now whenever you close the diameter or circumference of a piece, you do create a slight spiral in the wall. And under this kind of compression technique of moving the clay up against these interior fingers, you flatten out what was that spiral, but it does show up on the rim. And then we just needle tool it off. So now we're just going to use a flexi rib, smooth the top in. This is the very last thing I'm going to do. Flattening it slightly. I never flatten it until this point. I bring the rim up just a little bit, clean up the rim. Voila, there's our closed form pillow shape. Thanks again for joining us at the Canton Clay Works.